The crew of Centaur said their issue with postponing their parade has to do with not being able to get a permit. Can you explain what the permit process and why they can't have a permit today for a February event?
Well, today, if we were to look at their permit under the guidelines where we are today, these types of events aren't permittable under the governor's order. We talked, we met with them, both Crew of Centaur and Gemini, with Dr. White to talk about, all the guidelines that are in place currently. And so right now, if we couldn't issue them one. We never discussed not issuing one. I just think that they had some decisions they had to make immediately, and with the unknown. And it's not the unknown of the city's permit; it's the unknown of what phase we'll be in February.
So the biggest concern is, well, maybe we could give you a permit now, but I mean, come February, I might have to rescind your permit. Is that sort of it?
That's it. And the decisions they needed to make involved, big purchases, and we certainly would not have wanted to say, yeah, go ahead and do that, and then February them not be able to get their permit, and then be stuck with, things that they purchased for the parade that they can't use.
To do a parade like we traditionally do in our area, we need to be in phase 4.
I'd have to look at that. What phase 3 is going to say. Who knows where we'll be in February? It's hard to predict. As I think I told you yesterday, if we could predict it, I certainly wouldn't be here, because I, would know things other people don't. We just are the unknown. I think what Dr. White and I, when we had our meeting, we want there to be Mardi Gras. We want people to be outside. We want people to be interacting with, one another. But where we'll be in February is anybody's guess.
Okay, the Revel has scrapped for this year. Several others have. But I got some questions and concerns about one that's coming up in a couple of weeks. The Ratchet City Music Festival is moving forward. And people are asking, how are they allowed to do what they're planning to do?
Well, I think, first of all, they don't have to have a permit from the city, because it is not on city property or public property. It's on private property. But they'll still be subject to all the same guidelines that have been issued by the governor. So masks, social distancing. Outside venues aren't as restricted to the 50 people as inside venues. So they'll need to work with the fire marshal to come up with their plan, because they're still subject to the restrictions or the guidelines of whatever phase we're in.
Butch Browning told me yesterday, that they have to be seated, they can't be gathering in groups, and they can't dance. I asked him, how do you have a music festival and nobody can dance? And who's going to enforce that? He said any law enforcement agency can enforce that.
Are they required, Miss Shelley, as a private company, sort of doing a private event on private land? Are they required to have any kind of security at all, or is it just have it, turn up the music, and have fun?
They are not subject to the rules of the permits that the city has, because, like I said, they're on private property. This is the second or third year of the event, and it's always gone really well. So I don't foresee there being any issues other than having to, conform to the the requirements of phase 2.
Okay. For the other festivals, and Gemini, etc., Crew of Highland Parade, is there any way you could do a permit that's contingent? Like, if we're in phase 4, we can give you a permit, based on, you follow me, kind of a contingent plan on those permits, so they can kind of start their processes, or not?
I guess that we could. I'd really want to discuss that with a city attorney before we did that. Our concern is we don't want you to think that we're going to be able to issue a permit. You do all this planning, and then we say you can't. As we've told everybody, continue to plan. I think the Revel was planning up until the day they decided not to do it. and it had a lot. It wasn't just. There were a lot of questions to answer before you have an event, and I think all of those, bundled with the fact that we didn't move out of phase 2, phase 3 like we thought we were. But I think everybody's still planning, or they should be. I know Gemini is. They're continuing to plan and going to see where we are next year. We did not.
I want to make it real clear. The Centaur Parade, they say it's a $22 million economic impact. You don't want to lose that, right?
Absolutely not. And when we talked to them, we said, continue to plan. I mean, that's why we had Dr. White meet with them, so that she could, talk to them about, here's all the questions that you would need to answer, but we still want to have these things. These are, and we all said, very important to our city. Nobody said at all that we didn't want to have parades or events. We want to have them. They're all important. Not only the economic impact, but the social impact they have, and especially now. We need things where people can interact, but as I think I said this to you yesterday, one of the things I heard from Farmers Market was that people are going, they're getting their item, and they're leaving. And that just says to you, people are not ready to interact. And so I think you have to take all those things into consideration when you're trying to decide whether to move forward with your event or not.